Melanie tightened her jacket around her and crossed her arms. It was in the middle of December, and it was freezing. School had just gotten out, and she was near home. Who knows why she picked it up? I don't know why it caught her attention so much, but it did. There was a porcelain doll lying close to the sidewalk in the street. Melanie kneeled down and examined it. There was a crack in the doll's face, starting at the forehead, running down across the right cheek. Melanie figured a child must have dropped it, and no one had noticed. The doll was stunningly beautiful, with light brown curls that fell to her shoulders. Her hair was adorned with a pin that held pink ribbon and strings of pearls. She was wearing a pure white dress, which wasn't filthy at all, despite her being tossed into the street. She looked eerily realistic, as if she were a miniature human. Mesmerized, Melanie lightly ran her hand across the doll's shattered cheek and felt how smooth it was. Melanie pricked her finger, and a drop of blood had fallen onto the doll's pale nose. She quickly cleaned it in fear of staining the porcelain. Melanie sucked her finger and looked around to see if there were any porcelain chips lying in the street, so she could attempt to piece the doll back together when she took it home with her. Melanie hugged her to her chest and stood, rushing home. Melanie opened the front door and dropped her bag, then took off her jacket. Melanie's mom was in the kitchen cooking soup. "Is that you, Melanie?" she called from the kitchen. "Yes, Mom. I just got home," she called in reply. Melanie was still gripping the doll against her. "Mom, look at what I just found lying in the street," Melanie said, as she turned the doll around to show her. "It looks like she's broken, Melanie. You should toss her out. You don't know where she's been. Besides, aren't you too old for dolls?" her mother said, turning back to her soup pot. She was referring to the fact that Melanie was 16. Melanie rolled her eyes and walked to her room, shutting the door behind her. She gently propped the doll against her pillow and then sat crisscross across from her. Melanie admired her smooth features and how extravagant she was. How can anyone toss her onto the street and just forget about her? Melanie wondered to herself. People can be so cruel, Melanie. Melanie jumped off her bed, looking around. "Mom?" Melanie called out loudly. "Yes, dear," her mom shouted back from the kitchen. A chill ran down her spine, and suddenly Melanie began to sweat. "Who's in here?" she said, her voice cracking with intensifying fear. No one replied. No one seemed to be in the room with her. The voice had sounded like a young girl's. Melanie had no other siblings. Was she going insane? "Me, silly." Melanie heard the voice again. Who are you?" Melanie asked aloud. "My name is Angelica. Your name is Melanie, isn't it? That's a pretty name." Melanie froze in fear, and she could hear her own heart beating quickly and loudly. Melanie's eyes wildly scanned the room and fell on the doll. "You," she said, pointing a trembling finger. Surely she was going insane. "Yes, Melanie?" "What? What's going on here? What are you?" Melanie rambled. "I'm your guardian angel," the doll, Angelica, said. Melanie's fear was suddenly gone, and she got the courage to walk closer to the doll. "My guardian angel?" Melanie asked aloud. "Yes, Melanie. I'm here for you, to guide you and comfort you," the doll said. Her lips didn't move. Nothing moved. "Here to comfort me?" Melanie said slowly in a small whisper. The doll heard, of course. Melanie didn't have any friends. She was an outcast. She was extremely intelligent and was passing all of her classes with A's. The other students envied her and bullied her. "I'm here for you, Melanie. You and only you," the doll said. Melanie began to cry. They weren't tears of fear or sorrow. They were tears of joy. "Don't cry, Melanie. I'm here for you. You won't ever be alone again." Melanie smiled until she heard the doll's last words. "But your mother doesn't want that, Melanie. She wants you to be alone. She wants to take me away from you." "No," Melanie said quickly. "She can't do that!" Her voice rose in anger. "She can, Melanie. Don't let your mother take me from you. I want to be here for you," the doll replied sweetly. "What do I do, Angelica? I want you to be with me forever," Melanie said, tears brimming her eyes. "Take me to the kitchen, Melanie," the doll said. Melanie swiftly grabbed the doll and ran to the kitchen. Then, Public Records. North Carolina Police Department, December 17th, 2012. Mother and daughter were found in their apartment dead. The mother, Mary Ann, was found in the kitchen. Her throat had been slit and she died from loss of blood. The daughter, Melanie, was found in her bedroom, hugging a toy. Her wrist had been slit with a razor blade. She also died of blood loss. The daughter's fingerprints were found on the weapons used against her mother. The case has been ruled as homicide and suicide.